I'm Pat Olson. Coming up on Satellite Showtime, we'll take you back to Tulsa to the Space STTI show. We'll also update you on the issues of scrambling and zoning, and Mike Gustafson will have another technical segment for you. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Good evening. Welcome to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. In our industry news tonight, the Cable News Network has announced it is going to charge TVRO owners a $25 a year fee to receive its unscrambled signal. That's for every TVR owner, regardless of whether the TVR owner wants to receive the signal or not. Space says it thinks that the cable industry is pressuring CNN to do this and that its announcement is premature. Space says it thinks CNN is wrong because, as of yet, there is no national marketing capability in place for scrambled programming, and also the price for scrambled programming has not yet been negotiated with the industry. We have a man on the phone tonight who is upset about this announcement from CNN.
Well, I don't think that it's right to force someone to pay for a service when they don't want that particular service. I think everyone should have the freedom of choice. I thought that was guaranteed by the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Okay, thank you so much for your comment on Satellite Showtime. Coming up on Satellite Showtime, Mike Gustafson talks about your home TVRO system.
The Luxor Mark II, a new generation of electronic excellence. The Mark II is a block satellite receiver system. It offers independent channel selection for multiple TV sets from a single antenna. In the home, for neighbors to share, in hotels, apartment, offices, and for licensed SMA TV redistribution to the entire community. The Mark II by Luxor does it all. You receive the best signal, the highest possible performance with Dolby high fidelity sound. Other features include the individually programmed audio, AFC automatic fine-tuning controls, all on the 24 programmable channels. An infrared handheld remote will give complete control over the channel selection on any satellite. It's all so easy with Luxor Mark II. See it and then enjoy it. The Mark II does it all.
Welcome to the world of satellite TV opportunities, the marketing techniques magazine for satellite television that reviews the latest technology and introduces you to people you should know.
Satellite TV Opportunities is the marketing techniques magazine for satellite TV dealers. Our single purpose is to help dealers increase their sales and their profits through improved marketing techniques.
Call today for your subscription to success, 1-800-922-2812, Satellite TV Opportunities magazine.
Space is still asking for your help to get two bills in Congress passed. Those bills, H.R. 1769 and H.R. 1840, respectively call for a 2-year moratorium on scrambling and a fair marketing plan for scrambled programming. Space encourages you to write a handwritten note to the U.S. representative in your area, asking him or her to co-sponsor the bills. Those bills are gaining support. H.R. 1769 now has 20 co-sponsors, and H.R. 1840 has 23 co-sponsors, but more are needed. As far as the zoning proposal before the FCC right now, the FCC still hasn't acted on it. The proposal calls for preemption of local zoning ordinances that are overly restrictive. Action on the proposal is now expected in the fall. Arthur Clark Jr. is the man responsible for the idea of satellites in orbit. In 1934, he wrote about what is now known as the Clark Belt, named after him. It's the geostationary arc more than 22,000 miles above the equator on which the satellites are positioned. Only along this arc will satellites not fall easily into the Earth. The arc is geostationary, which means the satellites rotate with the Earth, so they appear stationary from the Earth. At the Space STTI show in Tulsa, one of the founding fathers of our home satellite industry, Taylor Howard, gave a speech in which he mentioned Arthur Clark.
One of the things that Arthur Clark said in several of his books, as a matter of fact, is that there are only two worthwhile human activities: the search for knowledge and the creation of beauty. We're doing both of those.
For the past 3 weeks, we've had the pleasure of having Mike Gustafson on our program. He's the West Coast editor and technical editor for STV Magazine. And we're pleased to announce he's going to become a regular on Satellite Showtime. Mike talks technical, and let's see what he has in store for us this week.
Last time we talked about the satellite technology itself. This time we're finally getting into, and you probably wondered how soon we would get there, the TVRO system itself, starting with the antenna. The antenna is probably the most single important part of your system. No, it's not your turn yet. The TVRO system gets all its gain from the antenna itself. If you have a poor antenna, the system will never work properly. We can put the world's best, most expensive receiver and LNA on it, but if the antenna is not proper, nothing will ever perform properly. So when you look to buy a system, purchase an antenna as big as you can physically fit in your location, and also the most expensive. Does not necessarily mean that most expensive is the best, but you do get what you pay for. The antenna develops its gain because of what is called the parabolic curve. Parabolic curve means that the energy arriving at the dish arrives and is reflected by the antenna surface, that's this surface here, and focused to a single point. Now, an artist's drawing of this will show you some idea of what we're talking about. The energy from the satellite arrives in parallel waves, hits the curved surface, and reflects to the focal point. So that's all this dish is doing, is like a billiard shot. It's taking the energy and collecting it and focusing it down to one point. The accuracy of that curve is what's really critical to this. What we're trying to do here is maintain the surface tolerance of all antennas, whether they be solid spun aluminum dishes such as this one, or mesh dishes as those like that one behind me, fiberglass dishes. We would like to maintain the surface tolerance, that is, how close do we maintain the physical curve of the antenna to the parabolic formula that generates that curve, We'd like it to be within approximately 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch. Now let me explain that. The wavelength of the energy arriving to this antenna in the 3.7 to 4.2 gigahertz band is approximately 3 inches. So we talk about a 1/10th wavelength or a 20th wavelength. Well, a 1/10th of a wavelength is approximately 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, it's a little bigger, but we'll slide on that this time. So we're looking at a 1/10th of a wavelength down to a 20th of a wavelength, which is 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. That means as you run your hand over these dishes, if you feel big bumps in them that go greater than 1/4 of an inch, probably the dish is not very good and will not perform well. If, in most cases, most spun dishes are quite good, as are most one-piece dishes. That does not say that a multi-piece or a mesh dish system can't also work, because one of the finest playing parabolic antennas in the market today is a mesh dish. So let us consider for a very moment here why we need a large antenna. First off, we need a large antenna to collect the energy. The more energy we collect, the better the picture. But also, as I alluded to during satellite communications time, the satellite itself, as the satellite power dies, we need to have more and more energy or size to make up for that loss of energy. So if we start out with a big antenna with lots of margins, we will be able to maintain a good quality picture throughout the lifetime of that satellite. The second reason why I like to stress large dishes is for the closer satellite spacing. No doubt you've heard about 2-degree spacing. The FCC has said they're going to move the satellites a lot closer together in the future. And the beam width, in other words, how much energy this dish sees at 22,000 miles away, is called the beam width. The smaller the antenna, the wider the beam width, which means essentially that if you had a 6-foot or 4-foot dish, it could conceivably see 2 to 3 satellites at any given instant. This would be very difficult for your satellite system to decide which picture you really wanted to see, and you'd have a lot of noise and sparkles in the picture. So the size of the dish determines the beam width. There are other mitigating factors, but they're probably beyond the discussion at this time. One of them, as just an example, would be efficiency. If we get the efficiency up on small dishes, in fact, the beam width does get smaller. So we want as small a beam width as possible for the given size antenna that we have. This is a 10-foot spun dish. Its beam width is sufficiently small enough that it will have no problem passing the 2-degree spacing situation. So this is my personal antenna, and I'm not too concerned about it. The smaller the dish, the more you should be concerned about it. The 2-degree spacing problem could be solved in other ways. The FCC is considering going into other areas and trying to solve the problem, but thus far we're stuck with the consideration that the antenna size makes it all. So to reiterate and go back over it again just a little bit, the energy is collected by the reflector and focused to the feed. The purpose of the feed, because while this is just a reflector, it's not the antenna. The antenna is actually physically located in the LNA, the low noise amplifier on the back of that feed you see up at the focal point. The energy is focused to the feed. The feed's job is to separate the two polarizations, vertical and horizontal, and to collect as efficiently as possible all of the energy that it's given to it. And then it funnels that into the low noise amplifier. The feed has a very difficult job. Its job is to take the energy coming from this dish, but to reject energy coming from outside the dish. And that's called illumination taper. That is to say, if we illuminated the dish uniformly, that is to say we saw this corner, this edge of the dish is equally as strong as the center, the feed would pick up all kinds of energy radiating from out here where I'm standing. This would add noise to the picture. So the feed has to be able to listen to the dish, but not listen to energy coming from the outside. Well, we can't do that. So we taper it off such that energy arriving at the center is not affected, but energy arriving from this edge is reduced by 12, 14 dB. That's not important, but what is important is the point that each feed is particularly designed for the antenna it's going on. We do have some general purpose feeds on the market today that feed an awful lot of dishes and works very well, but the optimum feed for each dish is a little bit different. You're not going to do anything about that, but the point I'm trying to make is that the feed illumination determines how well this dish is going to work. I can have a very highly accurate dish, but if the feed illumination is incorrect, the dish will not perform well. So you must consider that. And the way you look at that is to say the F over D, the focal point divided by the diameter of most dishes is between 0.3 and 0.42. And the feeds we have today will feed those dishes quite nicely with no problem whatsoever. if you should get a dish that's deeper or shallower, that is to say 0.25 or 0.45 or 0.5, in fact you run into a problem with feeding that dish and it takes a special feed. So just be aware of that. An antenna is only good as the mount that it's under. Now it's your turn. We'll have the dish get out of our way here for us, and we'll take a look at the mount. Now the mount is as important as the antenna. If we have a very lightweight mount, the antenna will sag. And when it sags, the dish will go out of shape and will not hold that parabolic curve that we feel is so very important. What you see here is a polar mount base. This is the polar axis. It's pointed directly at true north, and the dish rotates about that axis. And this is how we track the satellite belt. It's the only way to do it. One little point to note here is this graphically to show you the distance from the polar axis to, say, this point on the base, or on the mount, versus here. You can see that this distance is a lot further away than this distance. That is called the polar offset angle. It's a very critical adjustment that is built into almost all polar mounts, and that assures proper tracking of the satellite arc. If you should have the problem when you move your dish where the ends of the arc are weak, but the center is very strong, center satellites are very strong, or vice versa, the problem is in this adjustment. And you should either call out the serviceman who installed it and have him readjust the polar offset angle for proper alignment, or try it yourself. And it's a simple adjustment just to move it in or out a little bit and then retract the arc back and forth from end to end. And in fact, you will find there may be some improvement if you do have a problem now. The rest of this is just a fixed elevation adjustment as well as the power drive. The power drive is what does all the work for us when it's raining cats and dogs outside and we want to move the dish from SATCOM 3 to Westar 5 or Westar 4 or even SATCOM 4. This happens to be a 36-volt actuator. It is a Saginaw drive with a boot. Now, we've had a lot of problems in the field from the Saginaws getting water inside them. These Saginaws were never designed for the use they're being put to. So we have a couple little things I want to point out to you. We have a small boot over where the Saginaw screw goes into the motor, and we have a major boot over the extension arm. These two boots keep the water out of the system. I've also drilled a hole in the bottom of this drive such that if any water does get into it, it in fact leaks out and doesn't freeze up or rust out the drive. So the Saginaw drive, or any drive like it, needs to be treated very carefully for weather considerations. Once again, this is a polar mounted antenna designed to track across the full arc with a power drive. Behind me you saw, standing here, a mesh dish. And as a closing comment, let me say that a mesh dish is not necessarily better, nor is it worse than any other solid dish or any other design of a dish. It's the curve that's important. If the curve here is correct, then the mesh dish will perform just as well and just as accurately as a solid dish. So essentially, don't be concerned because it's mesh or not mesh or whatever. Be concerned with the surface accuracy of the dish. That's the primary ingredient to be concerned about. So I think we've used up just about all our time for this segment. Once again, if you have any questions or suggestions, it's Mike Gustafson, Post Office Box 20700, San Jose, California, zip code 95120. And I think that does it. Have a good day, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Mike. We look forward to next week's segment, in which Mike will talk about feed horns and polarization. But coming up on Satellite Showtime still this evening, some little gadgets that may never make the top 10 product list, but are a lot of fun. Stay tuned.
Want to know more about satellite TV? Then go to the source for product reviews and how-tos. We're on the road and out in space, and sometimes in very cold places, with features and technical reports. It's all in Satellite TV. That's only $19.95 for 12 big issues of STV magazine. Call now, 1-800-438-2020, and get this LCD calendar clock free with your subscription. That's 12 big issues of STV Magazine and the clock for only $19.95. The number again is 1-800-438-2020. 1-800-438-2020. Call now.
Last month, we took you to the Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago, where we talked with some exhibitors in the home satellite industry. Well, members of the New Tech Times staff, based in Madison, Wisconsin, also went to CES, only they took a different perspective at the show. They looked at some mini electronic gadgets that were tucked away in the recesses of the CES showplace.
Step right up, step right up, step right up. Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud.
Coming back for another consumer electronics show can mean success in this business. For OWI of Japan, a second appearance at CES brought the showing of an expanded line of Move-It robot toys. These popular do-it-yourself electronic kits turn into real-life automatons. Fashionably from Taiwan, and now available at a stereo store near you, comes a redesigned boombox that you wear.
This product name is Sound Jacket. It's a stereo. 2 speakers here. My brand name is Mini Sing. My company name is Retong. It's made in Taiwan.
Wear this AM radio from Sportsbug in your ear. But this gadget is worn behind your ear.
The sleeper beeper is a safety warning device. It makes the driver alert. You turn it on right here. Weighs less than an ounce and it fits very comfortably behind your ear. You're driving down the road and you begin to fall asleep. Your head tilts forward and it beeps and wakes you up.
Don't settle for less. How do we do it? How do we do it? Volume, volume, turn up the volume.
Dial.
Here's the first telephone you actually talk back to.
Weather. Dial.
The command dialer is a voice recognition telephone.
If you watch Star Trek, and when Mr. Spock said computer, and the computer says yes, and he went on and gave it commands. This is what ultimately will come about. We're at the beginning of it now with something like this.
If Dr. McCoy put Spock on a diet, he'd probably prescribe something like this personal activity computer.
It has a small device called an accelerometer built into it that actually measures the activity you have relative to the body and relative to the Earth.
Step right up, step right up, step right up. Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud owner. The quality goes in before that name goes out.
Shelburne Films of Reedsville, Ohio produces videotapes and films about the home satellite industry. What we are about to see is an excerpt from one of those films about satellite antenna installation.
Proper installation by a skilled installer can pull out that last fraction of a dB of signal and pull your picture above sparklies, guaranteeing a satisfied customer and happy TV watchers. But what is it that makes a good installation?
Doing a good install is not as simple as it might first appear. There are a lot of little things that can go wrong, and some fine points to pay attention to. Tell you what, come along on the next installation with us, and we'll show you exactly what it takes to do it right. Every installation job must include a site check. It's very important. In fact, you can't even close the sale without a site check. Find a place to put the dish where you can be assured of good reception before you spend your time and money. The site check begins with an understanding of where the satellite belt is located in the sky for the longitude and latitude of your location. From our location in Ohio, the satellite belt looks like this. SATCOM-4 is the highest satellite in the sky, almost due south. SATCOM-3 and Galaxy lie about 20 degrees above the horizon to the southwest. On the west coast, the belt would appear to be shifted more to the east, with West Star 5 being highest in the sky. The important thing here is to note the elevation and azimuth readings for the lowest and highest satellites in your sky. The azimuth of a given satellite is really a compass heading for your particular location measured in degrees. The elevation is the height above the horizon for a given satellite, also measured in degrees. These aiming coordinates can be found in numerous industry publications in the form of satellite aiming charts. With a little practice, you can simply glance at your compass and know just about where the belt is. With that knowledge, you can pick a pretty good spot to do a more precise check. The tools you need are a good compass and an inclinometer. First, determine your compass heading for the satellite. Remember to adjust your compass for the magnetic deviation for your area. Your airport tower can give you that figure. Now, take a level or straight edge and aim at that compass heading. With the inclinometer on top, raise the straight edge to the proper elevation. Sight along the straight edge to find the satellite location. Several manufacturers now make satellite locating tools which incorporate the compass and inclinometer. After locating the 2 or 3 satellites that describe the belt, you will be able to see if there are any obstructions. There must be nothing between you and the satellite. Any object, even a tree, can degrade the signal. Here we have trees blocking the middle part of our domestic belt. To use this site, we would have to trim those trees. Pick a site as close to your house as possible to keep the cable as short as you can. Cable costs you money and signal. Then make sure you have a clear look angle to see all the birds in the belt. Then you're all set, ready to dig your hole, right? Well, almost. There's one other thing we must consider. It's a little gremlin known as TI, terrestrial interference.
Shelburne Films sells this tapes and other tapes about the home satellite industry. If you're interested in purchasing a tape, you should call this number, 614-378-6297. Next week, the Shelburne Films segment will be about terrestrial interference. The Microwave Filter Company of East Syracuse, New York, helps people solve the problem of terrestrial interference, or TI. Coming up tonight on Satellite Showtime, we'll talk with one of Microwave Filter Company's employees about this problem.
Luxor, space-age technology at an affordable price. Satellite receivers, antenna actuators, remote controls, and auxiliary sensors, all by Luxor. Here's a totally integrated satellite television reception system. The Luxor 9550 remote controlled satellite receiver. 24 channels, selected, fine-tuned, programmed for automatic recall. 4 different audio systems, built-in RF modulator, automatic polarization, 2-speed scan, video inversion control, AFC defeat, and Dolby noise reduction, and more. The Luxor 9534 antenna actuator, automatic satellite selection by remote control, all at the touch of a button, remarkable ease and accuracy. And the Luxor Mark II, a high-performance block satellite television receiver system, several sets, each having their own independent channel selection at the same time from a single antenna. That's the Mark II. Just a few of the high-performance, technically advanced satellite products from Luxor.
For a limited time only, you can receive Channel Guide for a special reduced rate. For just $9, you will receive 8 weeks of Channel Guide, a month of Galaxy One magazine, and the all-new 1985 Whole Earth Station catalog. That's a $20 value for just $9. Enclose check and address, and you'll start receiving the original grid format for satellite TV. Due to this low price, no phone orders may be taken. Write today. Channel Guide, Department 808A, P.O. Box 1633, Englewood, Colorado, 80150. Do it today.
Bill Johnson is with the Microwave Filter Company of East Syracuse, New York, and you participate in the dealer certification course at the Space STTI show in Tulsa. What was your degree of participation, Bill?
Well, this is a course that's an elective. There are several courses that are required for the certification, and the TI course, Terrestrial Interference, is one of the elective courses. And I taught that this morning. It was a 4-hour course that presented the basics of terrestrial interference and how to go about solving it in a way on site.
Why are dealers studying terrestrial interference?
Well, some are studying it because they've been burned before. They've gone on the site, they've actually put the installation in already, and found out that they had interference that was so severe that they actually had to come in, rip out the equipment, and call the site a loss. Very expensive proposition. So there are those who took the course because they want to find out how not to do that in the future, and others are taking it because they've heard that terrestrial interference occurs in about 10% nationwide of the sites that they'll install. So they want to be prepared ahead of time to know how to characterize it and also how to do the installation in spite of the fact that the interference prevents good reception.
And terrestrial interference is what?
Terrestrial interference is caused by microwave links that operate in the same band as the satellite signal. They compete for spectrum space with the satellite signal. And what happens is that the two signals merge together, the interference, which you don't want, and the desired signal from the satellite, which you do want, and they end up distorting the picture on the screen.
Okay. What does a microwave filter company do to try to solve this problem?
Well, we have a line of filtering products and services which address various needs within that technology of how to suppress interference or to avoid it. We have measurement services on site that can be performed. We also have filters that can be plugged in line. Under the right circumstances, those will reduce then the interference. And we also have a field service team which is able to go on site and perform troubleshooting and repair a site that's pretty bad.
Okay. How do you repair a site that's pretty bad? How could you do that?
Okay, well, there are several steps to it. One of the first steps is to characterize what the level of interference is on site, because before you can apply any fixes to it, you have to know how bad the problem is so you know where to attack it. That's done by various means, one of which is a computerized survey, and this can be purchased either independently by a dealer or installer, or Microwave Filter Company offers a package for $425 where we'll go ahead and analyze the interference on site and give the customer a report as to what might be expected. But this is all done at a desktop back in East Syracuse, New York. So nothing is done actually on site up to that point. But it gives a lot of good information about how bad the situation could really be. From there, if our field service team goes out, what they'll do is equip themselves with proper filters and equipment to go on site, actually measure the interference, characterize it, and then apply the filtering products to solve the problem. And it isn't always just filters. It might not be just the products that we make. Screens can be used, modifications to existing equipment can be made, some of which are fairly inexpensive, but buy a whole lot in terms of making the system work.
What else does Microwave Filter Company do?
Well, we're involved in several different markets besides TVRO. That's not our entire business, but we do some Defense Department contracts as well as some commercial cable TV and similar general communication type markets.
Do you see terrestrial interference as being a problem in the distant future?
Yes, most certainly I do. There was a rumor that was going around that said that the C-band, or 3.7 to 4.2 gigahertz microwave links, were being phased out. Unfortunately, that's not true. It's a nice story, but it just doesn't hold any water. CompuCon and ComSearch both confirm, and those are national spectrum coordinators, frequency coordinators they're called, and they do licensing for AT&T, Sprint, MCI, and all the common carriers. And they indicate that they're doing about 30 to 40 new application modifications or brand new applications per month. So what that means is the C-band 3.7 to 4.2 gigahertz spectrum is going to become more crowded with interference.
Any other things you'd like to add, Bill?
Well, just it's encouraging again this morning, and I'm fresh out of that 4-hour course this morning, and it was very encouraging to me to see the number of people who are interested in learning about terrestrial interference. It is only on a nationwide basis about 10% of the problem. 1 out of maybe every 10 installations that are performed will experience that type of problem. Some experience a lot more because of the geographical area. But it was very encouraging to me to see people who are interested in learning the fundamentals and then how to go ahead and apply those fundamentals to fixing the system. And understanding how to fix terrestrial interference also gives one a good basis for doing good installations in the first place, because you have to have an understanding of the systems. It was just very encouraging to see the positive attitude that was displayed.
Last week on Satellite Showtime, we spoke with Chuck Hewitt of Space about dealer certification courses that are going to be uplinked by Space. Well, the sites for those uplinkings have been announced. They are going to be in Denver, Colorado, Sacramento, California, Dallas, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, and Knoxville, Tennessee. They'll be held July 26th through the 28th. If you're interested in participating in any of these classes, you can contact Space at its new address, which is 300 North Washington Street, Suite 310, Alexandria, Virginia 22314. And the phone number is the same as before, 703-549-6990. A few days after the uplinking of those dealer certification courses is the Satellite Industry Trade Show in Reno, Nevada. The Northwest Satellite Conference will be held August 2nd and 3rd in Reno. And exactly 1 month after that is the Space STTI show in Nashville, Tennessee. I can't believe that's coming up so quickly. That show will be September 2nd through the 4th. At the Tulsa show, I spoke with Rick Schneringer. He produces the 3 Space STTI shows every year, and he told me about the Nashville show. How does a person sign up to attend the Nashville show?
They simply get an application form or call us on our Watts line and apply. We do charge. It is a trade show. It's not for the man off the street, but it's a very minimum amount of money that they spend, and we'll be happy to have them come.
Offhand, do you remember what your Watts line number is?
Yes, 800-654-9276. They can call from anywhere in the United States on that, except in Oklahoma, which it doesn't cover, but they can call us collect.
Great. And what's that collect number they can call?
405-396-2574.
All right. Rick Schneringer, producer of the Space STTI show, thanks for joining us on Satellite Show.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate being invited.
At the Tulsa show, I had a chance to speak with some of the exhibitors about why they were there. I'm talking now with Russ Oberlin, who is Field Marketing Manager for Channel Master.
Correct.
What does Channel Master do?
Well, Channel Master is a company that's been in the television reception business for going on 35 years. And we started out with regular television antennas, and approximately 4.5 years ago moved into the satellite business also. So we are a complete supplier of both conventional UHF, VHF, off-the-air systems, plus a full line of satellite equipment.
Why did you move into that area of satellite TV?
Well, satellite itself seems to be the emerging technology with regard to television reception. And having been a leader in the home market, it was just a natural move for us to continue to move into the direction that the industry and the technology was moving.
How long have you been with the company?
In January, it'll be 25 years.
With all this new technology happening, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think that going back into Channel Master's history, we've always been a company that has tried to provide television reception for people in the fringe areas, people outside the normal reception areas. So our regular television antennas have been accepted for many, many years as the ultimate in fringe reception. With the satellites being 23,000 miles away, signal coming in to people from that particular distance, again, requires specialized equipment. And we find that many of the customers that we have are people who have been buying our equipment for the last 20 or 30 years. So we had almost a ready market with people who recognize our quality. And there was no question if Channel Master had the product, that was the one that they wanted to buy.
And you've kept with the name Channel Master all these years?
All the way, yes.
Why?
Well, because I think it has been indicative of the type of business that we do, the fact that reception, as it is, has been one of the strong points, and the name has been so well accepted that to change it would probably not be in our best interest.
Why did you come to Tulsa to the Space STTI show?
Well, we have been supporting these shows ever since the beginning, and although there are numerous shows, there are people that are here that have not had an opportunity maybe to attend any of the earlier shows. They need information, and they like to look at product, and whenever you have a customer who needs information and is looking at product, we want to be there to show them what we have to offer.
What do you look forward to most for the future of the home satellite industry?
Well, I look for people who have been what we call second-class citizens, people outside the normal reception area who are getting a minimal number of channels to be afforded the same opportunities as people who live in the larger metropolitan areas where where more channels via cable or off-air are available. And if this can be done, I think it raises the level of education, information, and provides additional entertainment to people that have been deprived of that in the past.
Anything else you'd like to add on Satellite Showtime?
Well, I just am very pleased with the way the industry is moving. We're seeing a lot of people coming into it. We're seeing a lot of emerging technology, which is providing a very solid base business-wise for a lot of people. And I think that it has been one of the major points that has helped the economy grow. I hope that as time goes on, the industry will mature to the point that the quality of product and service that's offered to the consumer will make them feel that they're getting as much value out of the receiving equipment as they feel they're getting out of the television sets themselves.
I'm speaking now with Gail Tao, who is Marketing Director for Automation Techniques. And I understand about a year ago, Automation Techniques had a bad blow to it. Could you tell us about that, Gail?
Yes, this was a year ago, Memorial Day. We had quite a flood here in Tulsa, which was unusual. Some parts of our building, we had 10 foot of water in it, but we survived.
How did you survive that?
We had all kinds of employees, customer helps. We waited water. We worked wee hours of the night. We earned invoices. We had a slow start back, but we maintained our place. So.
Well, just going back a little ways, how bad was the damage?
We lost all of our office equipment, desk. We lost some walls. We had a heavy interior problem. Our equipment, which is quite expensive in the back, was our main concern. We tried to dry out components before they built up corrosion. We did lose some of our equipment, had to be replaced. We feel like that we survived it good with the loss by acting fast with all of this stuff.
What's the status of your company right now?
The status of our company, we have a new management team in, basically from Dallas. We have a strong future. We have a strong leader to lead us this way. I would say we're in the best shape we've been in a year and a half.
Why did you attend this show, Space STTI in Tulsa?
Okay, mainly because it was hometown. It's a good time to show them your hometown, be proud of it. We look forward to the 3 major shows a year, though, which is Vegas and Nashville. I understand the 3rd one's up for grabs right now. This will be the 3 that we attend from now on, unless it is again in Tulsa. We usually take this time to come out with new product, whether it's new product or new cosmetics. We show it at the show to have a come on. We've got something to show too, you know.
When you say new cosmetics, what do you mean?
Well, this year we have looked at the new black panels. We've always used brushed aluminum. We came out with black units, the same units now. We're going to have an option. One of them's trimmed in white, one is trimmed in gold. It gives our Automation Techniques a complete new look, but it is the same product, and they are American-made products.
What kind of questions are people asking you at the booth, your booth this year?
If we're having offshore product brought in with our name put on it, which we do not. We manufacture and service here in Tulsa.
Do they ask much about the flood?
No. Now, we got heavy on that in Nashville last September. And, of course, all of them said, hey, we felt so sorry for you, you know. But we didn't lose any of our customers. We had some that kind of went light for a while, but we didn't lose any of our customers due to the flood. They were tremendous.
And I hear praise from your fellow employees that you were the one who really stuck by there.
We all feel like this is our second home. I just don't know where I'd go if I didn't get up and go to work. We love the place, really. It is a close-knit family type operation. I hope it can stay that way.
Thanks, Gail, from Automation Techniques.
Thank you.
Coming up on Satellite Showtime, the Calltronics video newsletter with Joe Kelch.
Are you confused about satellite programming guides? Are you tired of monthly inaccurate guides that are big and bulky and about as much fun to use as a city phone book? How about tabloids with hard-to-read print, incomplete movie listings that are about as easy to use as a road map? Or newspaper guides with confusing grids that fall apart in your hands? There is an alternative. Onset, the easy-to-read, easy-to-use weekly programming guide with more movies and sports. Best of all, Onset is only $39. That's right, 52 issues for only $39. But don't take our word for it. We'll send you a free copy of Onset, and you can judge for yourself. And if you're a dealer, ask about our dealer program. Make your customers happy and make money. Call Onset now. Toll-free 1-800-438-2020 or write Onset, Box 2347, Shelby, North Carolina, 28150. Onset, you've seen the rest. Now try the best.
Good evening and welcome to Qualtronic's video newsletter. We'd like to start out with a commentary tonight on two important subjects. They involve dealer problem areas, namely installation and servicing. Earlier on, dealers came aboard in the industry, and many of them, unfortunately, did not have adequate financial backing. They had non-existent good locations. They were in garages and basements and wherever else, of necessity many times. And of course, they didn't have adequate training. Many of them did not. Today, of course, the dealer has come a long way. Usually he has all of the right ingredients: a good storefront, adequate financial backing, and training. But of course, we all know that some problems still remain, and they're serious problems. It's brought up and brought to mind basically because so many people are involved in sending in complaints to various sources. This one is from the Wisconsin Justice Department, Office of Consumer Protection. Now, I don't want to imply that there are a lot of complaints, but even a few give a bad name to an industry. The article discusses the system, how it works, and the price range, and how the problem arises with poor installation, many of the problems with good reception. And they also mention servicing. Quite often the serviceman lacks the expertise necessary to fix the system or replace defective parts. Another problem is that consumers sometimes find themselves in a catch-22 situation because retailers may claim that the manufacturer is responsible for servicing while the manufacturer says, no, it's the retailer who's responsible. And that, of course, is something that has to be worked out with the retailer and the manufacturer. Finally, consumers have problems with retailers who make promises for servicing, but they never show up or respond when they should. At this point, we'd like to say we do get calls on our show that reflect a very good service department in an individual or a firm. And because this was an exceptionally good one, we'd like to pass it on to you for a caller from Marshall, Missouri. Had this to say about her dealer, A1 TV Service in Sedalia, Missouri. He is so exceptional, so solicitous, and so good at service that I want you, please, to mention his name, and we have. So congratulations to the dealer in A1 TV Service. His name is Vinoy, Mike Vinoy of Sedalia, Missouri. Congratulations, Mike. You have at least one great backer, and I'm sure a lot more, because service is very important in this industry. A moment ago, we spoke about the importance of installation and servicing for dealers. And of course, we want to counteract that by telling you what a good dealer would do as far as marketing and servicing. I think to point that out, we're going to introduce Jim Pletzer, Regional Sales Manager for Qualtronics, who's going to talk about a truly exceptional dealer out in Michigan. Jim, who is it and what has he been doing?
Right. Gentleman's name is Elgin Nichols, and he is running a appliance and service store. Is what he sells is service. It's an appliance and electronics store. He's located in Bay City, Michigan, and just this spring he located in Standish, Michigan, and also Linwood, Michigan. So he now has 3 locations. He does have a wholesale operation for our stainless steel satellite antennas, which is in Linwood, and he would, very happily work with any dealers in that area. But what Elgin has done is put together a tape for me, and he has sent us in. He does a lot of advertising on the local Bay City television stations. And I've been there myself, and I've seen his storefront. It is excellent. He has everything in there. They sell service, mostly. Service.
Could we watch it now and then we'll critique it?
Sure, let's go take a look at it.
Okay, fine.
The best TV satellite system should be made of stainless steel, which is 3 times stronger than aluminum, operates nearly twice as cool as aluminum. The best satellite system should be warranted for 10 full years. The best satellite system, above all, should bear this name. Nichols, the satellite system above all.
At Nichols, we're service people first, sales people second.
When Nichols seriously started looking at selling satellite systems,
We discovered that stainless steel provided the best value in terms of service to the customer, and service is what Nichols is all about. At Nichols, we're service people first, sales people second. At Nichols, we're service people first, sales people second. At Nichols, we're service people first,
sales people second.
our search for the best stainless steel dish led us to Qualtronics, which incidentally makes the only stainless steel dish in the industry. The unique Qualtronics hydroforming process uses a massive press and water to form each dish. Because of the tons of pressure, each dish is perfectly shaped and retains that shape, allowing us to offer a 10-year warranty, the only one of its kind. Not only did Qualtronics offer quality product and experience, they also proved themselves to be a service-oriented company, willing to work with the dealer to help provide a better image for the growing satellite industry. Experience tells us that, given a thorough presentation featuring the warranted life of a stainless dish, together with the minimum amount of maintenance and quality service after the sale, the satellite shopper will prefer a stainless steel dish. But while we were happy with the product, Nichols felt that our service-oriented image and years of experience could be better utilized in the role of distributor. Currently, we're studying various sections of Michigan to set up satellite dealerships. A typical dealer profile would consist of a storefront, a service organization, and a solid financial base. Nichols will provide each dealer with necessary training information and extra support systems that we've found to be successful.
Nichols, the satellite system above all.
Stainless is here to stay, and Nichols is getting behind it. Today we have 3 major locations and a multi-million-dollar organization. It was built with solid service to the customer and quality products like Qualtronics stainless steel satellite dishes.
Well, Jim, I'm impressed, and I'm sure you are. The first time I saw it, and again this time, this man has gone to some expense and a lot of impact on servicing. What else does he do besides the television spots?
He does a lot of ads on radio. And myself, I was over there for a couple days here earlier, like near the end of April. I heard myself 5 ads that Nichols had on radio. And he does a lot of advertising on newspapers. He had a whole backside of the newspaper the 2 days in a row that I was in Bay City.
Yeah. So he's an aggressive dealer, and he also is one who knows the impact and importance of service, service, service.
You bet. You bet. Service sells, and word of mouth is like the best advertisement that you're ever going to get, and it's free. Word of mouth is free. Good advertising, it's cheap.
Yeah, I'd like to just encourage dealers out there to, if they at all possibly can, get together a budget and see what you can do. Maybe it isn't a television, but you can see the impact of service and what you can do with, I would say, a fairly modest budget. Now, I'm sure when he started, he was small in his budgeting, and he's grown.
Yes, he was. He was very small. He was in the electronics and appliance business, and his first order of stainless steel antennas was 2. Okay, he hit a high of 53, and that was while he still had only 1 location. And this spring he has opened up 2 more. He has 3 locations now, so sales are really rolling along now.
So let's take this as an example that we can all profit from, and that basically is this: do what you can with the means that you can, and get out there and be aggressive in sales and marketing and servicing. Thanks very much, Jim.
Thank you.
Bet. The Trans 10 by Qualtronics. This eye-appealing transparent antenna has passed the stringent test of the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. It's approved for 2-degree spacing. In the words of McDonnell Douglas, the performance of the Trans 10 is equal to or greater than that of other antennas of similar size and construction. Not only does the Trans 10 perform, it's also covered by a 5-year limited warranty, and it's easy to look at. Its baked acrylic thermoset black finish gives it a low luster appeal. Yes, the Trans 10 is also built for strength. The patented rib design assures maximum reflector signal and better retention of panels in high wind areas. Independent tests have indicated that the Trans 10 will withstand wind velocities up to 90 miles per hour. The Trans 10 by Qualtronics, high in performance and strength, UPS shippable anywhere in the United States. An antenna for every season. Special guest tonight is once again John Call, president of Qualtronics, who has a commentary about antenna testing.
Hi, I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk about kind of a bugaboo that I have with some of the specs and things that I see advertised in magazines and information that gets out into the public's hands and to you dealers. And that's performance tests of both receivers and antennas. Here at Qualtronics, we're more concerned with antennas than we are with receivers, but it's a problem that I think can be solved, and I think we all need to look at it. And that's the varying results of antenna performance, who's tested them, and that type of thing. I want the word to go out to you dealers to just be real cautious when you look at antenna performances and spec sheets. Ask the manufacturer who tested it, and if it was to get the wind test done on a particular antenna. And I get a flyer in the mail that said this antenna, they were talking about their antenna. Their antenna was supposed to stand 70-mile-an-hour winds, and the guy that makes the antenna signed his name to it. To me, that holds very little validity. I guess the only thing I can say for him, he was smarter than me because he saved the several $1,000s for the antenna test. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to the final version for the homeowner, when it goes through, you dealers that said, hey, this antenna will take it, and it didn't, it's going to be you on the line. So really make sure when you get antenna tests, and the same thing with receivers, make sure that the test reports are done by a reputable company that can stand behind it. Thanks.
That's it for this evening's video newsletter by Qualtronics. We'll be here next week at the same time, same station. We'll be looking for you.
Thank you, Joe. That's all for this evening's Satellite Showtime. We're glad to have you as a viewer, and if you have any comments or questions for us, please call one of these numbers: 800-826-5285, 608-647-4246, and 608-647-8902. On next week's program, Mike Gustafson will talk about feed horns and polarization, and will also show you more from the Tulsa show. Until then, good night.